this is all going to be in Lightroom. So that is flagging, star weighting, and color labeling, because I think there's a bit of a lag there. So we're going to get cracking with this. I've got some people with me live who are hopefully going to ask some questions as we go through this. But using flags, stars, and the color labeling in particular can actually massively improve your workflow in terms of having, if you do like things like event photography and you have lots of pictures, or if you do things like time lapses and you're out in location, you've got more than one time lapse. But we're going to go through that now anyway. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. Let's share entire screen so we don't mess up like we did last week. Share. And then we are going to go to Lightroom. And here you'll see I'm actually in the library at the moment. Here on the left-hand side, you'll see I'm in my landscapes part, but I've gone to a specific folder called London. Hi, Paul. Thanks for joining, mate. Here now. Good stuff. good to see you, mate. So London. So I've got my London folder open in the library tab in Lightroom. And you'll see along the bottom here, these are all my images, and my London folder, this is a backup folder. So it's not just one from one photo shoot. This is from a few different times I've been to London, a few different locations in and around London. And you'll notice above each of these, what would you call these down the bottom there? So little thumbnails, if you like. There's a flag. So some have a black flag with an X through them. Some have a white flag. And there will no doubt be one or two in here that don't have any flags at all. Let's go to somewhere a little bit further up. So some of these here, I've got flags there, and some don't have any flags there. Now, to use flags, quite simple. We've got some hotkeys. You could, if you wanted to, you can right click on an image. So if we're on this image, right click, and in here we've got set flag. So we've got rejected, we've got flagged and unflagged. But there are some hotkeys for these two. So if I pressed a P, for instance, for pick, I can pick that, and that's now flagged it with a white flag. I can then press X, and that now unflags it, if you like. So that's now no flags, not unflags, it unpicks it, if you like. But I could press U, and that takes the flag off completely. Now, my current workflow, what you're seeing down here is an old workflow of mine. So I would use the P and the X respectively. I'd go through, which is my first, if you like, port of call when I get back from any photo shoot, is to pick the images I want to actually physically work on. And this is quite a quick flick through, if you like. So it's not a final, this is an image I'm definitely going to edit. But certainly if I look at an image and I think the composition is quite right, and I think everything quite flows quite well, very quickly I'll either pick or reject. Now, what I tend to do nowadays, my new kind of workflow, is I either use the P to pick, or I use the U to unpick, or not pick at all, or just not, don't do anything. If I pick it and I want to change my mind, I'll press the U button, so it unpicks it. So you'll see down here at the bottom here, these X and the black flag, if you like, is using the X key. This is an old, this is what I used to do it. So I'd use the P and the X, P to pick, X to unpick. But now I've realized that I don't even really need to use the X, really. You don't really need to use it. Just using the P key or the pick key. So if I go again back further up to another photo, you see that I've picked this image, if you like, and I've just not done anything with this image. I've gone through, I use my key, so the right hand key, if you like, and then I've got pretty much on one hand. So I'm using my little finger on the key. I can't show you that because it wouldn't work. My little finger is on the right hand key, and my index finger is on the P, and I'll pick the one I think looks good or good enough to pick to work on, if you like. This actually, funny enough, was an image I took in one of the Sky Gardens in London, and the lady wanted me to do a picture of her, so I just did it, and then I've sent it to her since, and she quite liked it. But you'll see from down here, I'm literally just using either the P key or nothing at all. Sometimes if I've picked something and I don't like it later, I'll unpick it, and that's part of my next workflow. But it's starting to rain up. But my initial workflow is just to use the P key and pick. And you'll see when I do pick, a white flag comes up on a thumbnail. What I can then do from there is where it says filter just above the bar just there, I can use any one of these, and I can pick either the X, the black flag, the unpicked images, if you like. So I've got all now the unpicked images or the flagged images, the ones that I've actually picked. So now what I can do is go through and just work on the ones I picked. So my first workflow on any photo shoot is to pick the images I think are at least make the grade for me to even look at later. You'll know if you know me and you've seen my images, you don't see all the images that I ever take. I take thousands and thousands of images. I generally only show the top 1 or 2% of the images on social media or anywhere else. It's just a personal thing, and it's a business decision. All the images now that are now flagged, if you like, I now have down the bottom here in my key bar at the bottom, my thumbnail bar, if you like. So I can now just go through each one of these, move the key along, and I'm actually working on just the images that I've picked. So that's my next part of the workflow, is to use the ones that I just picked. So things like, and I'll show you in a minute, one of my weddings, which can be a bit of a nightmare. When I get home, the first thing I do, in fact, that night, I'll spend an hour, 2 hours, 3, sometimes 4 hours that very night after I've got back from wedding and do my first cull. And then I know that that's out of the way, because generally the cull is quite a long process. But that's out of the way. When I get started on actually editing, I know that I've got the images there that I can then look at closely, decide whether I still want to keep it. Generally, after that, I'm still culling anyway. As I work on images, I'll look at an image as I'm working on it. I think, no, it doesn't do me any favors anymore, and then press the U key to just completely get rid of it. But the good thing about this as well, and it's something I just want to add in there that I realized recently, is I can look, and just take off that. I can look at deleting images from my catalog. So my Lightroom catalog that I'm currently working on, I can delete images that aren't picked. So anything that's not picked can actually be deleted, not from the computer, they'll still be on the computer, but actually from the catalog. So if I now went to, I think, photo, and then delete rejected, this is going to tell me that 155 images in this folder alone, just this folder, because I'm only in one folder, if I wanted to, I can remove from Lightroom. Now that's quite big, because I can keep my catalog right down to the bare bones. You can also delete them from disk. That will delete from the computer. I wouldn't suggest doing that, and I'm not going to delete anything just yet. But if I went to something like my entire landscape folder, if you like, which has got 600, 2,600 and something in there, I can do the same in that entire folder. So I can go to photo, reject all, and that's anything that's not flagged, which in this case is 1,181 images, can be deleted, or at least removed from Lightroom. And that's quite big. That just means everything that's not got a white flag could just be gone, and that will keep your Lightroom catalog really, really slimlined and actually working quite fast. Because if you're like me and you do a lot of photography, especially a lot of weddings, a lot of time lapses as well, your catalog can get massive really quick, really quick. So that's the kind of flagging, if you like. Generally, I don't use all three. I just use the pick, and then I'll unpick if I have to unpick something. If I like something initially on a very quick cull, go through, like the composition, I'll use the P key and pick it. Again, you can right click and go to set flag, and then flag it, unflag or rejected from there. It's just easier, I think, to use. Yeah, go for it, Paul. To use the hotkeys, the keys there. Always after questions, mate. Go for it. Before we move on to, if I say you have a catalog of 300 bushy, if I have a catalog of 300 bushy park, yeah. I haven't been to Bushy Park in years. Let me get back up there. Only flag 50, yeah. Just waiting for that. When you delete the ones you don't want, yeah. Delete the unflagged in other. No, only in the folder that you're working in. So if I went to my top folder, which is this is my passport. If I went in there and did it in there, they're gone out of the catalog. They're not gone from my computer unless you've clicked delete from your computer. But what you would have to do is re-import the ones you want to work on. Okay. Yeah, literally only the one you're working on. It wouldn't delete the other catalogs. Only the catalog you're currently in, and again, only in the folder that you're currently working on, if that makes sense. So if I literally went to my passport there and did the same thing there, and went up to photo, delete rejected photos, it would literally get rid of nearly 4,000 images. But it's only in that catalog, only in that catalog. And I don't want to do that right now. Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully that makes sense. Moving on to what are we looking at? Star ratings. Okay, so the next thing, in fact, before we talk about star rating, I've done this bit probably the wrong way round. So before we do that, let's talk about the color labeling. So you'll see from here, I have a couple of images here that are colored red, and that's if I hit those there. There's two images there that are colored red. I don't know why I colored them red because it was so long ago, but the idea being, let's take off the filter actually, and you'll probably see a few more. So so I've got quite a few here that are. Let's go way back here. So I've got a couple there that are red. You might even see that right there. So I've got a few here that are red. So if I choose the filter red, you'll see the ones I've got red there. In fact, I've got a whole load here from what looks like a time lapse. So I've color labeled them red. Yeah, look, there's another time lapse there from a different date, but it's still colored. Does it delete photos from only delete flagged photos rather than colored? Yes. So it's all about the flag rating. So it's all the ones that are flagged with an X. So you'd have to go through, and so if I go back, let's come out of there a second. Just quickly go into. If I go back to photos and then delete rejected, you'll see all of the ones down the bottom here have got the rejected flag on them. So if you want to remove something from your catalog, you'd have to go through and hit the X key. Hope that makes sense. So the ones that are unflagged, the ones that don't have a flag at all, they're not removed. It's only the ones that have the unflagged, the rejected flag. If that makes sense. So a few things to think about there. I just wanted to add that in there just to give you an idea. So let's go back to the color range. So these are all colored red, and the reasons why I might color, no worries, mate. The reason why I might color code, and I'll show you how to color code in a second, a certain bunch of images is, let's say in this case, because it probably has happened. In this case, if I've been to, in this case, Corfe Castle, and I've done a time lapse before sunrise, and I've done another time lapse, which I bet I have done after sunrise, which I've now included the yellows. So it's hard to tell, but they will be yellow. Let me go through. I've got yellows. No, I didn't have any yellows in that case. Let's go back to somewhere. So what I would generally do. No, it hasn't happened. But what I sometimes do is actually restart another time lapse just as sunrise hits. So what I will have to do is edit those slightly differently because they've got a different exposure. They need to be edited slightly differently. It's the same, and I'll show you this in a minute, at a wedding. So what I tend to do at weddings is I color code the certain parts of the day. So I'll color code the ceremony. I'll color code the reception later, the dinner, and I'll color code the first dance. All different colors. And the reason why I do that is sometimes it makes more sense if there's two photographers, is that I can bunch all those images together and I edit them the same. So where I might be working with a photographer and he's inside and outside, I'm in a room and he's got images that are from outside and then images from inside. I can color code the ones that are all inside with my images so they can be edited exactly the same. So I've got continuity of images and the way they're edited in a bunch. So it's the same with time lapses. So what I'll sometimes do is do a time lapse just before sunrise, then a time lapse just after. Let me see if I can find. So let's go to London. I don't know if that's worked. It's not, but it's a similar kind of idea here in London. So I've got images that are color coded red, which are these images. These are all a bunch from, and you'll see that I picked only 2 images out of this bunch, but you see they're all red. They're all red for a reason, because they're all taken at the same time, and it made sense to, if I was going to edit those together, they'll get the same kind of edit. And then I've got some that are color coded yellow. Again, these are all taken at the same location, maybe slightly different times, but same location. But only 2 of those got picked to be edited. Have I got any greens? No greens, no blues, no purples, but that's fine. But you understand what I mean. The reason why I do that, I'm going to show you this in a minute with a wedding, so don't worry about it. Become clearer. It's just bunching images together that you might want to potentially edit together. Just makes more sense. So I hope that, and the way to do that, in fact, and I would always do this in the library. So if I've got all of my images here that are together, if you like, and I want to color code these, let's say red, you can right click and you can go set color label red. So you've got all the different colors there. You've got yellow, green, blue, purple. You can also use the hotkeys. Now you've got hotkeys you've got 6, which is red, 7, yellow, 8, green, 9, blue. 0 doesn't do a color rating. So if you wanted to use, what's the last one? If you want to use purple, you have to choose it from there. And you can't, there's not a number for that. I don't know whether there's a hotkey anywhere else, but there's certainly not a number for it. So 6, 7, 8, and 9 is your color labeling. Of course, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a minute, you'll see our star rating. So it gets a little bit complicated, but you just have to remember that. It gets a little bit silly. But that's how you would do an individual image. If you wanted to do more than one image, obviously you can select more than one image. So you can select 2 images and do the same there. So you press 6, for instance, that turns them red. You see that by the denoted red around the outside there. If I come out there, the whole thing's red. It's just because I've got it picked. The outside of that's always going to be grey. So anything you pick is going to have a grey kind of outline, but you still see it by the red little border around the picture. I hope you can see that on the screen there. If I try to do that in the develop module, so I'm in the develop module now, and I've got more than one image picked, and I want to change the colors to something else, 7, it won't do it. If you look down at the thumbnail there, it's only changed the first one, the main picked image, and that's why it's easier to do undo color label, same hotkey. Yes, yeah, it's exactly the same hotkey. So if I've just pressed 7 there and I press it again, you see the yellow's gone, and that completely gets rid of any color. So if it was a color before and you've changed the color, pressing that same color again will just take away the color completely. In the develop module, you can't do more than one image. That's why it's easier to do this in the library module there. So if I press the same thing again, 7, all 3 of them turn yellow. Awesome. You can't, you can't do that in the develop module. Just a little piece of information there. If you want to do, it's the same with anything. If you want to give anything like a rating, 2 seconds. Yeah, if you want to give anything like a rating, or if you want to give it a color, you can't do more than one image in the develop module again. And picking as well. So if I wanted to pick, I can pick all of those in here. Let's press the X key again, and then that's now going to the develop module. If I want to pick all 3 of them, doesn't work on all 3 of them down the bottom here. I've just picked the first one because that's the main one. That's the main one that's picked. Picked. Hope that makes sense. Always do this kind of stuff. And I'll be honest with you, when I'm doing my culling and stuff like that, it's all done in the library module. I rarely do anything in the develop module like this until I start editing anyway. So it's always going to be easier to do this if you want to choose a whole load of a range of images and change their rating or their color labeling. Do it in the library module. Don't try and do it in the develop module. So I hope that all makes sense. Just keep things really, really simple. If you have a big photo shoot, you've got a bunch of images that are shot during the day and another bunch are shot in the evening, another bunch shot at night. You might want to use color labels to mark them off, so you can then just choose those. If I hit the red there, I can just choose those from that certain part of the day and edit them, and they will probably get the same edit. I'll probably use the sync button and edit them right the way through, and then go back individually and see what needs to be tweaked just that little bit. So everyone happy with that? Anyone got any questions on the color labeling? If not, I'll move on to the star rating, which is pretty simple and pretty easy to understand. I generally do my star ratings individually anyway, so this can be done in the develop module, because what I will do is I'll end up star rating images as and when I go through the edits. So I've now got bunches of images that I've now picked. So I've got a range of images that I've picked. I've got some that are red. So I've got a few there that I know I'm going to work on, and I will then look at editing those. In fact, these are the same image, just one's got an edit and one hasn't. Yeah. So I think this might be a virtual copy. So then what I would do in the develop module, I will look at this image. I'll probably edit it and then think to myself, what would I give this out of 5 if I was in terms of would I put this on my website? Would this go up on Facebook, on social media? Is it good in my mind? Is it good enough for me to showcase to other people? And that's basically it. Give yourself a 1 out of 5 chance of what you're going to do with this afterwards. And is it a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? If it's a 5 out of 5, then this is going to be something that you're going to edit. Or if you've got another idea for what you want to do with these images, a star rating could be anything from, I mean, for me, and I'm going to show you this as part of a wedding setup. A 5 would be definitely given to not only given to the client, but it will also be for social media. It will be an image that I'll probably work on more than the others, because there's obviously some images at weddings that I take a little bit further in the way I edit them. I can't do that with every single image. I'll be there for months. So that's the kind of thing we're talking about. Star ratings are really simple, and I generally give images a star rating as I'm editing them, so I don't need to be in the library module for that. That's why I showed you the other two first. The other two are more like a cull kind of way of thinking about using them. So you use your flagging. Am I even going to look at this image? Does the composition even work? And when we look at things like weddings, let's get a wedding up. Let's close that and show you the wedding I was going to look at. So that's unflagged, so nothing's red. So don't need to worry about that. I haven't done that on this. I wonder if I can find a wedding I have done that one. Let's have a look. It's not generally something that's in my workflow at the moment, but it makes sense to talk about. No, I haven't. Anyway, this is the wedding, Gemma and Ollie. So let's go into the develop module. So we've got a ton of images here that are flagged. To be honest, I'm flagging more images now than I used to. That's mainly because the camera systems I use now are a lot better, and there's a range of images there that I don't need to send to the client. They don't need all of the images, so they'll get. I generally go through and I'll pick the one I think I really like the most. I love that one. I've gone through, don't need that because they're pretty much repetition images. Again, that's another nice one. It's got the groom and the best man there, all that kind of stuff. So I've gone through there and I've picked all the ones I want to pick. And I turn up out of 2,427 with 735 picked. There was more than that initially. You've got to imagine that as I'm going through the images and I'm editing images and I'm looking at images more closely, I'm seeing defects, I'm seeing stuff that I haven't quite hit in terms of focus. So I think initially, after my initial cull, the first cull, I would have had somewhere near to about 1,000 images out of this to go through and look at how I'm going to edit. I haven't used any color labeling in this, but I have used star ratings. So if I haven't got any 5-star stuff, I haven't got any 4-star stuff, but I have got some 3-star stuff. Now these are the images that I've done a little bit of extra work on. In terms of they've been in not only in Lightroom, they've been through Photoshop, potentially other apps as well. I think with this one, this is a sky replacement. The sky in this wasn't very great, so I've added a sky there. This has come back from all kinds of places. I've got a few apps that I use for that kind of stuff. So I've got these images, and you can see these are images I've worked on a lot. They've had a lot of work done to them. So these are my kind of top end images that not only are for the couple, they're for my website, they're potentially sometimes for publication. So some of my wedding stuff has been public in magazines and stuff like that. These are the images that would potentially be sent off to that kind of stuff. And then we go down, we've got 2-star rated stuff. No 2-star rated stuff, 1-star rated stuff. No. Stuff that is not in there. So, but you can see what I mean by that. There's obviously images that I would work on a lot more than other images. So in terms of weddings, using the flag picked, or the picked flag, as a quick cull, which is what I do the first night. Then I come back and start my edits. Sometimes I use the color labeling. Sometimes I use the star ratings. If I go to another wedding, let's have a look, see what we've got in other weddings. Let's see if we've got any other stars. So this, oh yeah, this is one of my favorite images actually. I've got a couple of versions of it, but this was a really nice image. The bride looked up just at the right. It's got a load. It is in focus, I do promise. My system is working hard. Just let that come up there. Yeah, so that works out right. So yeah, so I've got a couple of versions of it. One's a more classic version. This one's got a few more bits and pieces added to it. This is only 2-star. Yeah, so there's more 2-star stuff here. This is stuff that add more work done to it as well. So you can see these images here. Let's go to the develop module, see a bit closer. So a few more bits and pieces done to these. The groom obviously isn't very good in front of the camera. You see most of the images is not very good. So you can see that I use star ratings quite a bit. These are images that have had that little bit extra work done to them. And let's see if there's any 1-star rated. No, I didn't use 1-star rated. But out of the 700 images, 12 got more kind of work done to them than most others. And that's how I use a star rating. So I know that the ones that I need to do a bit of extra work on, get the higher stars. There are some stars, I promise you, that have got 5-star ratings. Let's go back to top level. So this is the whole passport. Let's see what 5-star rated images I got. Oh, landscape stuff. This is the stuff I used last week. So I 5-star rated the ones that I wanted to use for the video last week. So I knew I could find them quickly. And that's why they're 5-star rated. Let's have a look for some 4-star, nothing 4-star rated in my landscapes. Lots of 3-star rated stuff. Again, weddings, lots of London stuff. Some other bits and pieces there. This is the photo shoot I did the other week. Oh, that's going to get me flagged on YouTube, that is. Stuff I did a few weeks ago with the model in the park down the road. But you get what I mean. So the ones that are rated higher, the ones that get a bit more work done in Lightroom, potentially through the Photoshop, that kind of stuff. And yeah, hopefully that makes all kinds of sense. And you can start introducing that into your workflow, because I think it's something that people don't do enough. And it's something that can, once you start getting used to using the hotkeys, it can make your workflow really quick, especially if you do large events or if you do photo shoots where you're going out and you're spending a whole day out. You can really easily compartmentalize your day in terms of what to edit, how to edit, and keep that consistency in your edits. Because if you go to somewhere and you've got, especially events, you don't want all your images from a certain part of the day looking different. You want them all kind of looking right. And if you're going inside and outside, all the images from inside should pretty much look the same, as long as the lighting was exactly the same. They should really look the same. Let's come out of there a second. They should all really look the same. There's no reason why they shouldn't. Let's stop sharing that. So hopefully that all makes sense. So using the star ratings, the flagging system, and the color labeling system in Lightroom can really kind of speed up your workflow, especially if you use the hotkeys. Obviously, you can right click and then add what you need to there, but using the hotkeys on there. So P to pick, which is probably all you'll need for the picking system, for the flagging. Like I said, I don't generally use the others. Unless I'm gonna delete them out of my catalog, then you have to use the X key to unflag or deflag, if you like. The color labeling system I do use. I promise you didn't see a lot of that today, but I do use it, especially on the big events when I need to. And I've got like a second photographer, and I want to bring all the images from a certain like part of the day or a certain location on the day at weddings, that kind of stuff, all together. So I know I can make sure the edits are all pretty the same. And then, yeah, star ratings I use obviously to let myself know the ones I want to work on more than others. So I do have, obviously, my picked images are the ones I'm going to work on. But those ones that get the higher star ratings for me are the ones I want to work on just that little bit more. So has anyone got any questions about that? And if you're not on, okay, so we've got Nick. I use a similar method. I X the bad ones and then remove. And I go through the remainders and give them a star rating for what, yeah, pretty good workflow. Considered good to work on. The lower the star, less work is needed. Fantastic. So you can't use the same method, but kind of backwards to the way I do it. So use the X, which might actually be a better workflow, because you know if they're X, and you, like you say, you then remove them from your catalog. You've got a streamlined catalog, and it's going to be able to work faster as well. And then go through and give them star ratings. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Nick, that's a good way of working. Sounds like you use them really well. Has anyone else got any questions? If not, we're pretty much done. If you're on YouTube and you're watching this back later on, and you've got a question, please leave that question down in the comments. Always happy to have questions and comments, that kind of stuff. I'll always answer everything I see. There's not a single comment on any of my videos. Cheers, Paul. Any of my videos that I haven't answered, and that's truth. I sometimes even go through and look at the old stuff. Great stuff, Paul. Nice. Okay, guys and girls. Well, thank you very much for joining me once again. Like I say, next week's going to be slightly different. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I haven't explained this yet, but next week I'm actually going to be live streaming directly to YouTube. So if you're around next Sunday evening, that's 9 p.m. UK time, GMT, and that'll be 1 p.m. Pacific. If you're in the US, you have to work your local time round, whatever that is, because I don't know the other time zones for the rest of the world. I do apologize. But if you're interested in being here with me live and be able to ask questions live, that would be fantastic. You can also go onto my website and actually click on the thing and get a ticket, which will give you a reminder for next week. And it'll also tell you where my YouTube channel is, which if you're watching this, you should probably know. But yeah, go on there and subscribe if you can. Hit the notification bell so you get updates every time I upload a new video. Said that too quick. And yeah, I'll see you guys and girls hopefully next week. Thank you to those of you that have joined me tonight. That's Paul, Malk, Margaret, and Nick. Appreciate you being here. Cheers, guys. Yeah, I'll see you next week. Take care.